Oh, didn't see you there. Well, it is 2023, and I thought maybe today I would talk about my top movie of 2022. And this is, I think, the only top movie of 2022 for me. So here we go. Let's talk about The Northman. Now, just to set the tone for the movie, it starts off with the sickest opening monologue with like the coolest voice telling a story I've ever heard. It's so badass. Now, the music in this movie, it's played on instruments from the time period, and it's all done to be like the time period, and it is so sick. They don't at any point sacrifice like the quality of the music or like what could be badass. They nail everything with the music. Every part of the score is so good. So now we get in the story, we meet our little hero, Prince Amleth. Yes, I know, we get it. It's based on the story that Hamlet's based on. Who cares? That doesn't make it cool to me. It's good anyway. That doesn't matter at all. But everyone, tries to go smart, being, how did you know that it's based on Hamlet? Shut up. Willem Dafoe comes in, being all wacky, and he is just always so good. He's just the greatest. Now, early on is the only scene that I don't really like, and that's the ceremony. Like the whole ceremony of kind of making, Amleth the next in succession for the throne. That's kind of lame with like the burping and the farting. I'm sure it's accurate, but like it kind of takes you out of how badass everything is because farts are never not funny. So, I mean, come on. But right after they take the drug, it gets so badass with the imagery of like, it goes into his heart and it spreads out into like a tree of all these dead kings and shit. It is so badass. Now we get to the scene where the king is murdered by his brother. Now I'd like to point out here that Metatron did a video like saying how historically accurate is this, but he's absolutely wrong in this scene because he goes, they shot arrows from horse. There were no mounted archers in Viking times. No, they're not on horses. If you look at everyone who comes in on a horse, they don't have a bow and arrow. Anyone with a bow is standing. Pay attention. There's a nosy little guard that runs up and learns a lesson, getting his nose cut off. Pretty sick. Little kid cutting off dudes' noses. The kid gets away, rides away on a boat, and then the screen says, years later. How many years? Years. Now we get to see the better Skarsgård, because Bill Skarsgård sucks and Alexander Skarsgård is the man. Really, really, I wish him and Jason Momoa had switched. Alexander Skarsgård is perfect for Aquaman and Jason Momoa is perfect for Tarzan, but whatever. You see him on a boat with someone doing some sick-ass boat archery. How often you see boat archery? Badass. We get to see a whole like berserker ceremony, run around screaming, turning into werewolves and stuff. So sick. Then we get, the scene from the trailer where he catches a spear and throws it back, which is badass as hell. Everybody saw it in the trailer. Everybody wanted to see the movie. Sick as hell. Now, a lot of people also talk about weaponry-wise how he's reverse gripping his like sword or dagger. It's for defense. He does not strike with it. He's defending with it and has the bladed edge out in case he has an opportunity to hit, but every attack is with the axe. So it's just for defense. Okay? And he's just running around, kicking ass, biting necks like a badass. And what's cool here is you see that he's like not necessarily a good guy. There's a good display of duality. Then we get a scene of some dude shredding on some sick-ass ocarina. Then we get a great witch. Eggers just is the only one who understands witches. He does witches so well. And he does like different types of witches. And every time it's just done flawlessly. Now they're starting to also refer to Fjolnir as the Raven King, which is way too sick of a name for that dude. That's a badass name. Raven King? Are you serious? And then the witch talks about Maiden King. That's not as cool of a name. Now, what sucks is Raven King was a very short-lived name because now he's just a sheep farmer. Loser. He gets the boat and Anya's on the boat. Anya was at the village thing. I think her name's Olga in the movie. Anya, Olga, whatever you want to call it. Now this boat is the little boat that could. It goes through the most intense ass storm I ever seen a little boat going through. It doesn't capsize, it just goes. Like, yeah, the people are having a rough time, but the boat, this little tiny ass boat, is just like, eh. So now he goes and he becomes his uncle's slave. He sees his uncle has 2 sons, one with his mom, and they're a couple bitch asses. They want to sell him, but he pulls some dude down and kicks his ass and gives a public display of badassery, so they decide to keep him. One of the sons comes up, punches the fuck out of him, and all he says is, "Brah!" Uncle sees Anya and wants to smash, but we know that's our main character's chick. Back up. So now it's nighttime and he sneaks out but gets spooked by a bunch of chickens. Homeboy goes around killing all these people, catching spears, but he's scared of chickens. So when he's out there, he sees a little baby wolf, a little CGI baby wolf, and he follows it to a witch doctor in a cave who has Willem Dafoe's head in a bag. Uncle mutilated his head after he killed him, and so it's just this poorly put back together Willem Dafoe head that now Amleth talks to. It's sick because the witch doctor does like this whole ritual, and Amleth is just talking to this head, and Willem Dafoe is doing a voiceover. So it's so cool. Now Dafoe head tells him about a sword he's got to get to kill his uncle. This sword is like bound in giant bone and tempered in human blood. Sounds like a pretty badass sword to me. So he goes to find this sword and climbs down into a crypt where he fights a Draugr barehanded. He gets straight up socked by a Draugr, like socked across the room by a dang Draugr, and he's okay. He is the ultimate badass. So then he's grabbing whatever he can. He gets a pole axe and knocks the thing into the moon, which stops it. Then he cuts its head off, takes the head, and makes it teabag itself with its own body. But now it cuts back to the Draugr sleeping and him just standing in front of it. So the movie kind of like walks this line where it's like, are these, kind of mythological type things happening? Or are they not? And it's just kind of how they're perceiving things. I like that it kind of walks the line, because I always just choose to believe that the fantasy elements are real. But, it could be grounded in reality. I like that it isn't definitively one way or the other. So then he goes back and there's a bunch of dogs looking at him, and he straight up scares this dog away by growling at it. Now he could kill his uncle now, but it's prophesized that he'll kill him in like a lake of fire and blood. And he goes, well, these are just a bunch of huts, so I guess I'm not going to kill him here. The dude buries the sword in a roof. How you going to bury a sword in a roof? I don't know. So now he goes off to these like fight games, or it's this game where, okay, so you beat each other with sticks to get a ball, to take the ball to the other side, and then you have to use your stick to hit the ball against a bigger stick, or pole, if you will. And then the little kid runs down, little I guess his half brother runs down, and this dude knocks him over. He gets knocked over so bad that he's bleeding and unconscious. It doesn't make sense, but whatever. He's a big guy. And so Amleth just beats the shit out of this dude. He literally headbutts this guy to death. So then he goes to an after party and bangs Anya Taylor-Joy. And then the next night, straight up just walks into these dudes' hut and is like, sup, you're the first. He cuts these dudes up and nails them to a hut in the shape of a horse. Now, this is one of those things that they kind of do in modern movies where you can only glimpse it for a second, which I think is really tasteful here. But a lot of people I know have missed that they're nailed in the shape of a horse, and I just think that's so badass. And now these people decide that they don't want more deaths from this distressed spirit, and so they decide to give it a human sacrifice. Yeah, cause the death to not have more death. They're super smart. This dude, Amleth, howls so hard that the dogs lose their shit and start attacking everybody. Like the uncle's dog just starts going nuts on him. And as that's happening, he sneaks in, saves the person that's going to be sacrificed, and straight up Bernice Warden, Ed Gein styles a dude over another person, so their guts are hanging down on them. So now, to try to protect themselves, they're gonna like eat hearts, and Anya cooks them and puts a curse on them to make them go nuts. So these people are all sitting around in this fog, just losing their minds, stabbing themselves. Now this is where I'd like to point out how badass of a team Amleth and Olga are. Like, they have two entirely different skill sets that just kind of bridge the gap and make them extremely badass. Now he goes to save his mom, and what happens in my mind is just a perfect scene. The acting is phenomenal, the lighting is phenomenal, the framing is phenomenal, the lack of a soundtrack is phenomenal. They made Nicole Kidman's face just terrifying, like with the lights and the shadows and the face she's making and just how she's behaving. It's outstanding. If you haven't seen this movie, this is like the scene. This scene to me is like the one. So the dude refuses to kill her and just goes and stabs her son and rips his heart out. And now there's a scene right here that's like one of those things in like, I don't know, it's like historical type movies where there's just gross shit. Like, she's talking to the uncle really close, and he has like a drip of snot coming down his mustache. And her mouth is so close, I just kept waiting for it to drip into it. It's nasty, but it's kind of like, gets your attention. Now this dude, without even wiping his mustache, just starts killing all the slaves, slitting all their throats. And Amleth shows up using the dude's son's heart as leverage to get him to let Olga go. He's like, listen, don't kill my chick. I'll give you your fucking dead son's heart. Now the sword can only be pulled out at night, so this dude is fighting all the guards with the scabbard. He's not even using the sword. He's just fighting them off with a blunt scabbard and kicking all their asses until he gets distracted seeing that Olga got away. Then they're finally able to overpower him, capture him, string him up, and torture the hell out of him. While he's being tortured, the uncle tells him that him and Amleth's mom are gonna eat his heart. That's a pretty good threat. Now the father's spirit shows up in the form of ravens, and the raven come, eat the ropes away from his hands, and set him free. So now it's the funeral for the son that Amleth killed, and some chick shows up and starts singing the Wonder Woman song from the Snyder Cut, so they sacrifice her. Now the little kid decapitates a freaking horse, doing the weirdest dance slicing I've ever seen. Now Olga finds Amleth where he got away to, chilling, taking a bath, and she just is incredibly supportive. They're just such a healthy couple. So they're gonna get away, but Amleth touches her and sees that she's pregnant with twins. And so in order to keep the babies safe, he makes the decision to go kill his uncle so that they can live a long life, which is a really tough decision to make. So he goes away swimming like a Magikarp again. This dude comes back and kills everyone. He frees the slaves and just massacres everyone. So now he gets into the uncle's house and his mom jumps out and starts attacking him. He turns and ends up having to kill her to save himself, and she says thanks, which, you know, I'm not sure if that means that she didn't want to be there at all the whole time, but, you know, with how she was acting, I like to think that she did want to be there. Then the little kid jumps out, starts stabbing the shit out of him, and he straight up accidentally kills this kid. The dad comes home, his uncle, and sees everybody dead and just goes, nah, well shit, you want to go to a volcano? And he goes, okay. Now, we get to the final fight, which it does the thing that always bugs me in action movies. In every single like action movie, the final fight, the hero's super injured and is like kind of getting their ass kicked. Just one time I'd like to see the hero full strength against the main bad guy. You know, it never happens. The uncle brought the wife and son's bodies to the volcano and fuck it, killed their horse too on the way. Why not? Now they go to fight on a volcano, and this volcano is so hot, all their clothes burned off apparently, because they are completely naked fighting each other. Now this fight is well shot and well choreographed. Like stepping over the lava and the lighting, and it feels intense. And it's cool. You don't see sword and shield fights often because like movies don't think shields are cool. Now the uncle nails Amleth in the arm. It cuts him bad, and he gets pissed. He screams so hard that his arm stops hurting. He straight up fights this dude with like a useless arm just because he's so pissed. Then we get a sweet old double kill. Uncle stabs him while he cuts off the uncle's head. And it's a nice bittersweet ending, you know, like we understand him not surviving because remember, there's a duality. There's, you know, the things he did in the past that aren't great. So maybe him going on isn't totally deserved, but he made the pathway for his kids. Now his kids can grow up and have a life without being pursued by the uncle. It's honestly a great end. He has a vision of Olga telling him that everything's okay. Then we get the rad shot of the Bjork Valkyrie carrying him to Valhalla. And it, like, I can't imagine anyone but Robert Eggers making Valkyries look freaky. Like, it's awesome, but it's a little freaky, and I like that. So that's basically the end of the story. I think it is just a fantastic movie, well acted, well shot. You know, the history aspect is all so cool, just how accurate they wanted things to be. There's a lot of people who say it's not great, and they'll be like, oh, it's boring. But, you know, it's honestly just a fantastic movie, and if you get the chance, check it out, even though I spoiled everything.